How's that? Audio? Test. Yeah, my mic was muted, guys. Like, the little switch on the mic. Here, I'll show you. This thing. Can you hear me now? Hmm? Okay, great. Hi. So, second stream since, well, I guess of the new year. So the music that you're listening to is done by Raj, who actually does the game music as well, and he volunteered to do just sort of some background music for the stream because I guess he wanted to hear some, and I was like, well, if you make some, I'll run it. He made it, so I'm running it. So nobody seems to like my sheep. When I say nobody, I mean Tony and Chris. So my job today is going to be, well, I'll be modeling and answering some questions. But the modeling aspect, I'm going to start with the sheep and see how it goes. So let me just grab some things that I like. Okay, those three and that one. So we have just pushed, I'll give you guys an update. Oh look, the feed just changed. Or listen. We just pushed release 34 to Steam, and we've sent mail to Humble, so the Humble build will be updated very soon. So the major improvements on this one, in this release, are a big revamp to the AI system, which fixes stuck workers, and the other big thing is we added some hooks to modding, which I'll show off later. Because of this major rewrite of the AI system, you may see new bugs appearing. It's going to take us a little while to really bulletproof that system. And a known side effect is the game requires more CPU now, and that's temporary. Tony right now is working on a fix to that. Basically what we did is we let the units, your little guys, plan much more before they go off and do something. Like if you think about some guy who needs to like maybe run over to a piece of wood, pick it up, and then drop it off in the stockpile. Before he would do each one of those things sequentially, and just assume that he'd be able to do the rest, and that's what caused sort of the stuck problem. So now he'll like make a plan. He'll like, well, first I need to compute a path from like me to the wood, and then I need to pick it up, and then I need to compute a path from the wood back to the stockpile. And something could go wrong in that plan, like the space you wanted to put the piece of wood in the stockpile could get filled up by something else. And if anything goes wrong in the plan, he'll just abandon that plan before even starting to do it, so he won't get in the state where he's stuck. Instead, he'll go try to do something else. So that causes a lot more thinking in the system, which burns CPU. And so next up is a scheduler to basically manage the amount of thinking that goes on, so we don't do a lot of duplicate effort that we're doing now. And that'll bring the CPU usage back down. So if your game glitches and hiccups, it's expected, and it'll be fixed soon. Right. So that's where we are as a development effort. And it was like 3 weeks between patches, because this was just such a big change. We don't want it to be 3 weeks between patches in the future, so we'll try to up the pace and give you smaller updates more frequently. Okay, so like I said, nobody likes my sheep. Not nobody, but the sheep could use another pass. And so what people have issues with is that it's kind of a mixture of like really voxely and like cubey. Like you can see the sides and the top are pretty flat, but then it's got areas like the edges, sort of this edge and this edge that are like really sort of rounded, and the mix of like super cubey and super roundy doesn't really work for people, which I can understand. So we're gonna just try some variants. The video keeps freezing. Am I dropping frames? No, I've only dropped 2 frames. So sorry if your video freezes. It's on your end. Thanks, Avarian. Avarian likes the sheep. Unfortunately, Avarian, you don't get a vote. Apparently, I don't think I get a vote either. Or maybe I've just been outvoted. Anyway, so this pig, this boar, I guess I should say, is sort of like, I think, the best critter I've done. Because he's, I think I've edited it correctly. I've added just enough detail so that you know that he's a boar, but kept the rest sort of simple. So I'm going to use him as a guide when I'm relofting this sheep. And I'll be answering questions too, but let's get going. I've stalled enough. Can you tell I was stalling? So I'm going to try two variants. I'm going to try one variant where I make him super blocky, like super blocky. Why can't I? Oh, okay, I can't type. And then another variant where we make him more like, you know, rounded, like maybe like a piece of popcorn. So first things first, let's lop off some, yeah, edges. And I'm not sure which direction is going to be like the right one, which is why I just want to try them both and sort of compare. Right, so here the idea is that he's kind of almost like a marshmallow. That's sort of what I'm going to go for. Right, so we'll make him more square. I'm just like, you know, at a course level, just like getting the form right. I don't care at all about details at this point. It's like, can we get the right, you know, silhouette or something? Brush, whatever, something like that. Okay, that's not working. That's way too square. But we can go like maybe just one row of voxels in on all sides. Blah. Alright, let's carry this through to this. I'm not really satisfied with this snout. It's always looked like a dog nose. And we're gonna dig up like a reference soon when we focus on that. Let's like make his ears. I'm basically removing detail is the theme. The theory goes that there's just too much going on, and he's losing his sprite-like quality. So I'm stripping out that to get to his sort of core essence. Right. Smokestacks nailed it. What did he nail? Joffers? Just to refresh? Oh, you needed to refresh your window. Congratulations. He doesn't look like a marshmallow, which is kind of what I want. Maybe like, let's try adding some stuff. Yeah, there we go. More material. That's not bad. And then let's try to give him that like marshmallowy shape. So I'm only modeling really the left side, the side closest to the camera right now. This side I'm gonna let go because I'm just gonna mirror the thing anyway. Okay. Anybody have a question? I can answer questions too. Yeah, so there are questions that I'll answer from the web that got posted, and then I'll answer questions from chat in no particular order. And since my screen is busy, I figured I'd just ask you guys. If there's breeding differentiation between genders later, huh? Breeding, I hope you're not talking about people. So differentiation between, how do I move this thing? I can't remember my keys. Okay. Between genders in general is like, it's tricky. I don't have any good ideas around that. If you have good ideas, go ahead and post them. So, I mean, you know, that's a decent amount of work, so I'm not sure, you know, it's got to be worth it. So I can't say like, yes, that's awesome, because I'm not sure how it would play out. Like, how would raising like a male sheep differ from a female sheep? Right? I guess like if you could breed them and they had qualities, and you could do sort of like a breeding exercise where, you normal while breeding, then that would be cool, but nothing immediately jumps out that makes me say, yeah, that's something that we planned. We honestly haven't. We haven't thought about it. So if you have great ideas, post them and we'll take a look. Okay, so let's look at this guy. Let's flip him around. He's like that way. Well, and I do that a lot. So you can see that, like, I mean, the difference between this guy and this guy, you know, I'm not saying that I'm happy with this second one yet, but you can see his character is already changing. And there's less of these sort of stair steps, like right above his little ear, where you see all these voxels and there's just so much detail. You can lose the sense of the model if there's too much of that. The tail sticks out too much. You're probably right. Alright, to the Google. Let's see. Alright, to the Google. So this will be useful when I redo his head. But, yeah, baby sheep. Cute sheep. Cute sheep. View all images. Right. That's kind of neat. Yeah, so okay, so one thing that I missed, that I screwed up on the ears, and that's probably why it looks like a dog, is I think the ears on a sheep should be... This is sort of... I was looking at stuff like this before, and I usually get into trouble when I look at photographs too much, because I try to model the anatomy. And of course, these are real caricatures of these things. They're not like... So if you follow anatomy too much, you can really get into trouble when you're going at this low resolution. You're really trying to get a sense of the character, not literally follow what's accurate. Like, you know, these floppy ears probably make more sense. Let's try to get that kind of a feel in here. Okay, just gotta do it. Did Albert's hand appear on stream or something? That's funny. Albert, your hand is quasi-famous. Something like that. Even there, like, a whole 182 people saw that. Just like something like that, I don't know, kind of helps, maybe. Maybe that's too big. Maybe they're too far out. Not that one. There was another one that I think I like. See, yeah. 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 Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. Maybe like pop them out a little more so they're more pronounced. And then for the nose, my nose is totally wrong. That's like a dog nose, right? Whereas, yeah, the sheep nose is kind of this Y shape. You can see it there. You can see it there. Yeah, it's like a V, and then the septum, I think, is divided right down the middle. How am I gonna do that? That's gonna be tricky, but it definitely starts by breaking that form up. I mean, you could do something like that. I'm not digging that too much. So we can just flatten his face entirely. If you notice, like, our people have like 100% flat faces right there. That's probably the right. That's not awful. Like, do something like that. No. Maybe nuke that voxel. Wow. Now he's got like. That's really tragic for him. These look like fangs. Working at such low resolutions is really interesting and fun, because it's like, okay, I got it. kind of a puzzle aspect to it, like how can I take the smallest number of voxels, of pixels, graphical elements, and like show you what this character is about. That didn't work. That's alright, we'll keep going. It's way too, like his nose is just way too low on his face. So we can try doing something like that. That's better. That's better. We're getting there. And his eyes, I think, are like fantastic right now, so I'm not gonna mess with them. I like his little beady eyes. Let's try to like jack up his cheeks a little bit though. Give him a fat face. Maybe not that fat. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. It's tricky, man. It's tricky. It's not awful. That's pretty bad. Alright, let's try that and flip around and see what happens. Double click. Whee. You think this is a threatening face? Claim Man R. No way. He's so cute. Let's see. Yeah. I'm not like happy with this thing yet. That's just crazy. Whoa. It's not a caveman, bro. It's they're bangs. He's got bangs. Don't be offended by his bangs. Oh, that's better. Yeah, that makes more sense. It's sort of... Alright, I'm gonna stop messing with that nose. I think it's in the ballpark. I think it can be better, but it's in the ballpark, so I'm gonna stop messing with it and move on to bigger, better things. Like, I feel like he's maybe too tall? No. Maybe not. But let's try to define sort of his side. So I want him to be like marshmallow shaped. But not, yeah. Have his legs sort of peeking out from underneath. Something like that. That's better. Something's wrong here. No, that's not too bad. Alright, let's put... Alright, here's what we're gonna do. Do that. Make him one wider. But not on the ear. The ear should not be wider. And it's like way too wide. Is he way too wide now? probably. No, not really. Well, kind of. You're just too wide. Let's undo that. Uh-oh. Darn it. Alright, let's not undo it. I ran out of undo levels. Oh, ho, ho. I have a backup. The backup is the right-hand side. Look at that. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like splitting them down the middle like this. Although I feel like I'm going right back to the original model. No, I'm not, but that doesn't really work. Here, let's do this. I think he needs like something to break up. Sort of to break up the form and give like a sense of texture to him. So we'll do that. Oh, wrong color. That. Like that. So what I do, I'm trying to paint like sort of almost baking in some shadows in like a fluffy like texture. Something like that. Right? Do the same thing here. That. Yeah. And then we'll do the same thing down here. And let's get a darker shade. Just accentuate these shadows a little bit. That might be too dark, but let's give it a shot. It's too dark, but saw it coming. Right, just something kind of subtle. Oops. Come on, Chibi. Not bad. It's so not bad. We should maybe just do that. Yeah, I think I like the contrast. That anti-aliasing was probably a bit too far. Something like that. And then what I usually do for almost all of my models is when I have like a large surface, like sort of, can you see that? Yeah, you can see it. So I like to bake in like highlight, like here. It's sort of tough to see like when this wireframe sort of drowns out subtle changes of color, but I'll see if I can do it blind. Right, so yeah. Wink, 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 wink. Right, so I don't know if you can see that on. I'm looking at the stream and I can't see it, but it gets compressed out. But it's just like a little bit of a highlight to break up sort of sameness of the colors, and to give you a sense of texture that is sort of light and fluffy. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing since you can't see it. It's probably like really frustrating for you. I'm making a white. Here, I'll just fill it. Make sure I save the color in the right. So I'm making like these areas in the model a lighter color, a very slightly lighter color, and you won't like, you can't see it on stream because it's, well, you can barely see it on stream. And this is a good idea because it makes my work easier. But you'll be able to see it in game, and you'll be able to see it when I get out of this view, because sort of dark lines wash out the slight colors variations. So it's just like putting like a little bit of like visual interest on the guy and giving a hint of a texture. I mean, he looks polka dotted, right? But that's not the idea. And like I said, it's very subtle. Like if you look at like, it's, you know, you look at one of these little guys, right? And it's the idea that I want you to have a sense of this fluff, right? That it's not he's not made of plastic. Hold on, that thing's hilarious. This one, he's funny. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's do that. I like that one. Okay. So now let's come in here. Contrast it out a lot. It's almost white, but it's not white. Then yeah, right. So I don't know if I like that, but I don't dislike it. Like I like the idea. I'm not sure if I like that particular pattern. Like maybe maybe there could be this. No, that's not right. So as you can tell, I'm totally doing this 100% by feel. I'm just trying something. If it works, everybody be, most especially me. If it doesn't work, we'll do something else. It's not the end of the world. Okay. Uh-oh, someone's got a picture they want to share. What you got for me, Didis? Let's see. Hey, Google. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Alright. I'm not sure if this is relevant, but it's funny. So, like, what? It's maybe relevant. I actually like the colors on this thing. Yeah, I really like the colors on that thing. So much that I will try. Yeah, that thing has a really nice palette. Here, I'll bring it back. So it uses blue and orange. You know, the variations of blue and orange, but blue and orange look great together, so that's smart. Whereas I'm using pretty much almost a monochromatic palette here. So that's a good idea. Maybe we'll mess with the palette after I get the basic modeling done. The thing I don't like about this is that I've unintentionally made 3 bands, right? And they're like concentric. So I want to chop that up. So I guess the only way to do it is to just like force myself, right? So like something like this, that. Something like that, and then maybe just like really carry this out big time over here. That might work. Let's try. Nope. Yeah, it just didn't work. That's not bad. I like the thing that we did up here, because it sort of rounds off the top. Right, see that? In a subtle way it rounds off the top, which is nice. So we'll keep that. The rest of it I'll take as a homework assignment to try to figure out something to do to break up that big side wall of sheepness. Okay. It's not horrible. So, the tail. Someone said that the tail was too big, and I agree with you. Right, so let's do kind of like that. Whoops. Oops. All right, let's do an A/B. Well, here's A, here's B. I don't like what I've done with this. Whoops. What do you call it? These bangs. There. And I don't like that they're so bright. Okay, so this guy definitely looks more sheep-like. And he's definitely, we've accomplished our mission in making him more cubey. But he's less endearing to me. Probably because he's so cubey. The new tail looks much better. Thank you. I like the head. I like what we did with the head quite a bit. Although I think it could probably benefit from a slight indication of the sort of the inner ear. But maybe like doing something like that. Maybe not. But I don't like the super cubey nature of him. I just don't think it looks good. So let's move on to variant 2. Alright, so let's first port the things we like, which is this ear. These ears are much sheepish? They're more sheepish? I don't know. Than the previous ones, so let's just like do that. Let's say we'll definitely do that. And his nose. Just that one little change makes his nose look more sheepy. Right. It's bothering me. So let's fix it. Just right away, even though it's just the ear. Copy, paste, flip. Ta-da! Okay. So I said this guy I wanted to model like a marshmallow. This next guy, wow, look at the difference just those ears makes. The ears and the nose, right? This guy reads sheep much more than the other guy. So just those two little things are a big change. Let's see. I can't see my stream. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm gonna take a break before moving on to this next one and answer a couple questions. There. Is that it? Yeah. Can you still see it on stream? Yeah. Okay, so Untrusted Life. Wow. I'm sorry, Untrusted Life. Asks the question. It's a good question, he thinks. It is a good question. When will we start to see the beginnings of combat in the game? Actual enemies. Not for a little while yet. Our top priorities are first to polish off these AI changes, meaning the scheduler that Tony's working on now, which will improve CPU performance. And then next is save. And while Tony is doing save, the rest of us will be adding some features that we're not quite ready to talk about, but they're sort of basic features that you'd expect in a simulation game. And basic content like the Weaver and the Trapper. And then after that, our next priority is going to be to beef up the construction system. To let you guys do arbitrary floor plans and decorate your buildings with like lanterns and walls and rugs and whatever else. And then after that, we'll get to combat. So don't expect combat in at least a month. Maybe after that. But we've got a list to go through before we get to combat. Voxel Pirate asks, modding repository. Right. So we think that there are a lot of services out there that do a great job of coalescing and managing mods. Like Curse has a great one. And there are like 3 or 4 others out there, and we will initially at least leverage those. We're not going to like make our own mod repository because we have plenty of other things to do. Wow, you really got your money's worth, Voxel Pirate. 4 questions. So question 2 was, what are your future plans in terms of modding in Lua? So right now the Lua APIs are changing quite a bit. Like we just totally rewrote the AI system, so the AI APIs were all basically completely changed. So when these APIs settle down, we will start to produce documentation, like formal documentation, and you'll be able to just, you know, go to a wiki or something and look at all the functions and how they work, and we'll produce samples and stuff like that. But of course, it's a waste of time for us to do it right now because we'd have to redo it when the APIs change. So you can expect that stuff, but not anytime, not eminently, I'll say. I mean, for now, modders are like sort of basically decompiling the code and hacking stuff together. And you are welcome to do that and give us feedback. It's totally cool. But we're just not ready to formally sort of roll out the APIs and say, here they are. Because as we build more of the game, we're finding we have to change stuff. How's the office looking? Oh, you want a short tour? No, the office looks the same as the last tour, so sorry. How is Albert doing his work on terrain generation? How? Like, oh, you mean how's he doing? Not like, how is he doing it? It's going well. Yeah, no, that's great. And, I mean, you are seeing stuff from it already, because the terrain that has been generated is generated from his code. Yeah, from the stuff that you see right now, you just see these sort of tiny boxy worlds. The box is good, but the tiny is like, it doesn't give you a good idea of the scope of the work he's done. We'll have some changes pretty soon that will let you see more of the world. So you can see like sort of how interesting it is. I mean, we sort of have this system where we can build like worlds that look like worlds and don't look like noise functions. But you can't see it yet. So we want to get that in a form where you can start to see it, and that'll come soon. A couple more questions, and I'll go back to modeling. XD115 has 2 questions. You missed the Kickstarter. You bought the alpha. Thanks for supporting us, but you couldn't buy the kitten dog. And can you get at them? No, sorry. Those were limited time for the Kickstarter people. But there will be the opportunity for you to get your own pets. Just in-game. They won't come sort of out of the box like the Kickstarter ones, but you'll be able to earn them in-game. So fear not, you can have pets, you just have to work. And will there be a religion in the game? Yeah, those are like totally opposite questions. XT115, so you're a sophisticated guy. Or girl. That's a totally gender neutral nick. Let's see. We have ideas for like religion, but I mean, honestly, we're not putting too much thought into that because we have so much other stuff to do. But yeah, it's an interesting topic. You know, I could rattle off our thoughts, but then you'd probably get all excited about it, and we're not going to get there for months and months and months. So let's just all pretend that. Let's just let the future take care of itself. How's music coming along? Well, you can see that we have new ambient music playing now, and we introduced night music from Raj for the first time in build 34, and that sounds great. So it's coming along great. For the concept artist role, we've interviewed a couple of people, some really promising prospects, and we will keep at it. So we're making progress, but nothing to report yet. Okay, back to the sheep. I kind of like this one. Like, I like this one as is, so I'm gonna save him. I'm gonna save him off to the side and drag him off. Yeah, okay, still on the screen. And now I'll make a variant. And for this guy, this variant is like, we're gonna finish rounding this thing off. I don't mean to call you a thing. But the idea is that he's a mixture in his current form of round and boxy. And that's what wasn't really working, so we're just gonna finish the round part. Oh my. So here I'm gonna try to get him to read like popcorn, right? So imagine like he just popped. Oh, this isn't gonna work. I can tell already it's not gonna work. Because it looks like a voxel sphere globe, right? Like where's my window? There it is. Yeah. So like. videos, images. So there are lots of voxel games out there. No big shocker. And boom. This is like, so we have to do something to like give Stonehearth its own unique look, just because, you know, we don't want it to look like everything else out there. And this is like exactly, oh, I can show you a better one. But these like take a smooth surface, in particular a smooth surface, and just sort of voxelize it is exactly what we want to avoid, because wow, that's way too bright. It's supposed to, I'm trying to make it like readable. Let's pick a clay color. There. Because for like your head is shaped closer to a sphere than a cube. But if you look at our guys, their heads are pretty much cubes, like the edges rounded off, because like the way this thing, I mean, voxels get lit, right? And when you light it up, the shading of the different sides of the voxels is like visual information that your eye reads, and it can interfere with, like if I was trying to put a face on this dude, right? So we're going for like a sprite look, right? So we want these things to look like old 16-bit sprites, like come to life, right? And that 2D image that I'm trying to draw, like all the shadings of the sides of the voxels sort of fights that, right? So this is like the kind of thing that we want to really avoid, right? Which is why our logs are shaped like cubes. Sort of the running joke is a circle in the world of Stonehearth is a square. Like, I know it's supposed to be a circle, but no, it's just a square. Just make all circles squares and start from there. So this is like going right down that road that I really am not comfortable with. So I can tell already that it's like a bad idea. And the thing I learned about like establishing a style is to set a couple, like it's all about consistency. Like set some rules. You don't have to have like, you know, a mammoth 200-page book, but you have to determine like what are the rules to define this style, and then like stick to them. And a lot of the times it's easy to stick to them because it just sort of makes sense, because it's just what you wanted to do anyway. But the hard part is sticking to them like all the time and finding ways to like implement your design even when you think the rules are getting in your way. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Like I have this sheep and I really want him to look like this sheep, like because it kind of makes sense that he's like a little bit rounded, but you know, a little bit boxy too, but that's not in our style guide. So I have to figure out how to make the rules work for me instead of against me. So that's sort of what I'm doing now. And I can show you guys some other models that illustrate what I'm talking about, maybe if we have time at the end, where it's like, this makes no sense. Like, I was modeling like fruit with Stephanie like a couple months ago, and we couldn't figure out like how to get like a piece of watermelon to look like right, and then we were like, oh wait, it's round. Why is it round? And then we made it a cube, and like it just sort of, you know, it worked. And it kind of worked because it made no sense except in our environment, right? I mean, it looked like it kind of did make sense, but only if you like I guess if you know that the Japanese actually breed or make square watermelons. I think they grow them inside of cube-shaped pens, not pens, containers, so that they'll fit in a fridge. But if you didn't know that, it makes no sense. Like, why is this watermelon square? But it kind of works because it's like quirky. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that with this sheep. Maybe I think I might be making progress. Right, just eliminate some detail and make the. Still shave off the edges, but don't shave them off nearly as much. And I feel like I need to put some kind of like some kind of texture on this top part here. So I'll use the trick that I've used with cloth in the past, which is to give it like a regular, what do you call it when you have like stippling? I don't know. Where you have like stuff that goes like this. This thing has a name, like an actual name, kind of like the Sprite can. I can't remember it, but whatever. But we're gonna give that a go, but at a much lower resolution, because I don't like, instinctually I don't like using like one row of voxels, or like one, when I'm coloring, or one like individual voxel. I tend to stay away from that because I feel like I can't even explain why. It just seems like too fine-grained a change. And we're going from a more like, I guess, iconic look. So I want to do something like that. But then, like, how do I resolve this to? And then I want it to like sort of like this. Maybe that's the right way. Yeah, let's try it another way. So what I'm going for is I really like the mud spots on this pig, right there. Boom. Because it's just a quick gesture. Look, I said that I didn't like doing one voxel, but there I did it. It's just like a concise gesture, but it's like, oh, dirt, right? So I want to do the same kind of trick here, but I want it to be interpreted as like, oh, he's fuzzy, not fuzzy, but fluffy, right? Have it read as fluff, right? So something like that. Oh, I know. Here, let's do it like this. Let's try it like this. That. I want 3 of these. And then like that. Okay, is that gonna work? Yeah, that'll work. This might come across as like a paw sitting on his like. Okay, so let's do 4. Bump, 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 bump. So you can tell, like, you know, to get this right, I'm totally just like, let's try this. That didn't work. Let's try this. Wow. Okay, he looks diseased. No. But I think I can fix it. Still not good. Still not good. Maybe this is something that I should do just on top. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so let's do that, and then do like a smaller one. That's not awful. That's not bad. So I like this guy better than this guy. Not only because of his head, but because I've removed a lot of the extra detail, I think, like especially in this area and his back, which wasn't really contributing to the design. And so by removing that detail, it draws focus to his face, which I like. But we'll keep working at it. Okay. Oh, this is Tom, guys. Hi. I have done all the streams, practically. Tony did a couple of streams in the Kickstarter. Is my camera off? I feel like my head is cut off. It is cut off. Oh well. Sorry. It's been off the whole time, hasn't it? Let's see. So my camera is sitting on a coffee cup. I can move it and put the coffee cup on a roll of tape. Did that help? It did. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Dihalto. Tom is a StarCraft player. So I do play StarCraft, but I think it's an exaggeration to say that I'm a StarCraft player. because that implies all kinds of things like a level of skill and dedication, which I don't have. But under some rules of the English language, I am a StarCraft player. I'm porting those tail changes that we liked in the other one to this one. Is that right? Nope. Totally messed it up. Nope. Oops. Make his tail smaller. There. You know what? I'm even gonna like just make his tail like round, which is not as realistic. But when I say round, I mean square, but kind of round. Swap to the cameras I installed. Eh? Oh, haha. This is better. This is definitely an improvement. I think it could go a little bit further. But it's like an edited version of that one that you see in the background. We're just editing out details that don't contribute to the sense of the character. Right? Going back to the boar, what is it that makes this guy a boar? Like, not a sheep, or, sorry, well, whatever, not like a dog, and not a pig, but a boar. It's really three things. The shape of the body, where he's got kind of this sideways teardrop shape that's very top heavy. It's his snout, and it's his little mane here, right? So those are the three things that stick out, right? And I feel like I'm starting to get that sense here, where it's like, it's, you know, you look at his ears, you look at his kind of his bangs, which are unique, and then sort of the marshmallowy shape of his body. Those are the things that I want to read, that I want you to see in this design. Whereas here, it's like, it's kind of all over the place. There's a lot to look at. I'm just looking for spaces where I can simplify. This is like in the ballpark. What time is it? It's 5 o'clock. Almost. You guys want to see something? Here, let's take a break and I'll show you something. So I mentioned, whoops. Oh yeah, I should save this thing. I never saved it. You guys didn't shout save. We're both slipping. So we'll call this. Oh, someone shout. Or do people get banned for shouting save? Let's make save an object or an exception. People can shout save whenever they want. Let's see what we got. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, right. So let me show you some stuff. So I mentioned in 34, build 34, we added some improvements to the modding system, and you can read about them on the blog if you're super interested. You should, because it's actually, well, if you care about modding, it's kind of an important update. So what we did was we added the ability to override any file in the Stonehearth mod. The Stonehearth mod contains all of the content of the game, right? So, and we added the ability to override files in there. Before, to make mods, people would basically hack the game. Not hack in like a, you know, crazy sophisticated way, although it was pretty neat the way that you guys figured it out. But basically they'd like crack open the game and shove stuff in there, which is tough because if you have like a bunch of mods, if they all try to do that, they'll step on each other's feet. It's a big pain. So what we gave you the ability to do in the build 34 is this. So this is a file called manifest.json, which you put in your mod file, and it tells the game sort of everything about your mod. So this is a mod called Flagstone, and you can say, hey, I can override, and you specify a path, the asset to override. In this case, I'm overriding a JPEG file that is sitting in the Stonehearth mod, and I can override it with whatever I want. And this thing is the title screen, the background of the title screen. So this is the extent of my mod. My entire mod is this one file. And when the game reads this override, it'll honor it. So let me see if I can find my console window. There it is. So if I run the game, what happens is, okay, let's make this thing smaller so it fits on the screen. Right, so, ta-da! So, in my mod, I replaced the title screen graphic, Stonehearth, title, images, background.jpg, with a JPEG inside my mod, the Flagstone mod, right? And that's it. Right? That's all there is to it. The rest of the game operates as normal, right? So, I mean, you can imagine a more ambitious modder coming in here and overriding like all kinds of stuff, not just images, but the style sheets, because our UI is implemented in HTML. You know, you can imagine overriding style sheets that format the HTML with your own style sheets. Of course, you can replace in-game assets, which I showed on the blog, replacing like trees with cubes and stuff like that. So it's, I mean, even if if you're just like an artist or you don't know how to code, or you just want to mess around, this is a fun way to mess around, and you can find instructions for how to do this stuff in the modding discourse. So that's neat. That's one thing. Oh yeah, what build number showed up, right? So our so this is like temporary information or kind of BS information. This version number is nothing. We have our build script, when it builds a release version of the game, actually has the actual build number and stuff. This is meaningless. So don't think that I'm playing like a much more advanced version of the game than what we're releasing. That's just total nonsense. What else? Right, I wanted to show you the trapper. Really? Are people asking? Oh, right. So there's this other thing here. Let me see if I can blah blah blah. So Stephanie wants me to explain mix-intos too, and when to use each one, which is a good topic. So, so this is like probably the simplest mod you can make. Like literally, it's about the simplest mod you can make. I'm just replacing one asset. This is a slightly more sophisticated mod. And this does a couple of things. First, it overrides some assets, right? So it replaces Stonehearth's medium oak tree with Stonehearth's juniper tree, which is kind of silly, but maybe you really, really like junipers, so you can do that. And then it replaces one model with another model, whatever. So this is like very similar to the overrides that I just showed you. There's this other thing which we're going to rename. Mix-intos is, we were trying to be cute. I think we were too cute. We'll probably name it to extensions or something like that. But the idea is that you can take an existing asset and instead of overwriting it, you can add your own information to it, right? So right here, I'm taking like the Stonehearth's medium oak tree model and mixing in or extending it with this file, and that file looks like that, right? So this is what I'm doing is, so components are basically little pieces of structural information. So information, this unit info contains information, basic information like the name of the thing, and render info says how big to draw it on the screen, roughly. So here I'm saying that I want to change the name of, remember I'm adding this information to this file, or to this asset, the medium oak tree. So I want to change the name of medium oak trees to giant tree, and I want to like scale it up, make it bigger. So you could have done the same thing by using an overriding medium oak tree with like a whole. Here, let me show you the medium oak tree. Nope. So this is the file that I'm mixing into. Is this thing, right? So there are 3 different kinds of medium oak trees. Those are just 3 different models. And here's the basic info that I was changing, right? So the default name is medium oak tree, and I was changing that to giant tree and a bunch of other stuff, right? So I could have copied the contents of this file, put it in my mod, changed a couple of things, like change this to like giant tree, right? Giant tree or whatever, right? And then overridden Stonehearth oak tree with my oak tree, and that totally would have worked. The problem with that is that if someone else wanted to do that, who wins? Like, you both can't override the same thing, right? So with a mix into, or an extension, which we'll probably call it, I can change only the properties that I care about, so I can add new information, or I can change just a couple of properties. Like here, all I care about is changing the name, right? And some other mod could come in and say, oh, I want to change, like, the model, right? And since this mod didn't change the model, both mods can coexist at the same time. So whenever you can, if you're a modder, you want to use these mix-intos, which we'll rename again. And override only, basically you really only want to override like assets, right? Like images or models, stuff like that. 99% of the time, that's when you want to use overrides versus mix-ins. Okay, a couple questions, just for fun. Well, I guess because we promised we'd answer them as well, but it's fun too, so. Bye-bye. Okay. This is a lot of questions. How do you pronounce that? Forest? Forest? I'm gonna go with forest. Okay, does height changing thingies like stairs, ladders, or something, will they be available with saves? Height changing thingies will come into the game. It's hard to say if they'll be before or after saves, but we know it's kind of a bummer that you can't go up heights. So we'll add those. 1. What elements of the team focus next? Answered that already briefly. Performance, save, and adding some classes. Those are the most things. And then construction. And then after all that, combat. So yeah, that's the 2-second repeat version. How will all members of Team Ready look? Oh, that's hilarious. Someone actually did this already. And I'm not going to point it out to you, but maybe someone else will. Or search the discourse. It was kind of funny. It was like a whole scene and we were in the office. Will players be able to customize their village without modding? I mean, editing the flag. Yeah. So maybe. So putting basically the equivalent of a voxel editor in the game is something that we want to do, but it's a lot of work, and it's kind of low bang for the buck, right? I mean, we could add a whole lot of stuff in the same amount of time. So it's one of those, like a full-fledged like camp editor where you get to draw out like your insignia for the camp standard will come, but it's honestly not going to be anytime soon. But what we will do is we'll start giving you options in the things you craft, and you can see trivial options right now, like you can make sort of the chair with the square back versus the chair with the arched back, right? We'll add more options, and the other crafters we add, it'll be more clear, more distinct choices. Like when the weaver is available, she'll be able to craft you like wildly different variants of the same thing, right? So different colors, different styles, standards, and stuff like that. So you just pick the one you like and craft it, and that's one sort of simple level of customization, and then you'll get the full-fledged editing later. Oh, and then the bold one: will villagers have their hairstyles in the character sheet? No, that's funny. Mining and new block types. New block types will come before mining. So we'll introduce stone fairly soon. The way I think of the crafters, we've got the trapper coming, and then the weaver, and then maybe the shepherd. And somewhere around that time, we'll also implement the mason. And when we introduce the mason, we'll let you mine stone. But first, it'll just be stone blocks on the ground. Mining is tricky because we have, so if you imagine you're mining into the earth, right, now there are tunnels that are surrounded by voxels on all sides. We need a good way of showing you the inside of the earth where your tunnels are. And what most games do is they will let you slice the earth at a particular level, like slice, and then they just remove everything that's above it, and you can sort of slide up and down with your slices. That will work. We're experimenting with better ways. So mining will certainly come, but it'll be fairly far after we introduce block types. Like, we can introduce all kinds of block types and put them on the surface for you to gather, and that'll be our approach in the beginning. How'd you get 9 a.m.? Oh, that's for Steve. Oh wow, you're answering questions. Thanks, Steve. How big can a village get? 30 plus or even 100 plus? 30 plus for sure. 100 is starting to push it. We think of it as kind of like a simulation / RPG hybrid. So we want you to. We don't want to overwhelm you with, like, we want you to think of your villager guys almost like members of your party in an RPG, but definitely not like your units in a real-time strategy game where they sort of exist solely to sort of die on the battlefield, right? They are a means to an end, and you really don't care. Like, if they die achieving their mission, you're kind of like happy. It's like, yes, I got it. Now let me pump out 50 more Marines or something. So right, and so like massive numbers of units is not going to happen. So 100 definitely not. So somewhere between 30 and 100. What if I connected these? That's probably not going to work, but let's just try it. Just spam clicking there. It's not horrible. Let's do a better job. So we go kind of like this. We were joking before that I need a smoking jacket. That's actually kind of cute, like that color. Like if he was like a sheep zebra hybrid. A sheep. Or a sheepra. Wait, let's actually do that. No, we can't. It's not bad. Gives you something to look at. Hold on. Flip it on the X. It's okay. Alright, maybe like when we get up top, bridge those two forms. Oh man, that's so subtle. Right? It's not awful. And then carry it forward. Whoa. It's not bad. I'm gonna let that sit for a while and see how it sits with me. It's like visually interesting, but I'm not sure if it's like, if it gives me the right feel. Like maybe I should like bridge them way before then and like sort of extend it out so it's like a peak like that, and put that there and that there. It's getting out of control. It's spiraling out of control. Right, maybe like that. That might work. Maybe. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's a horrible idea. I think it's a horrible idea. Oh, my undo stack broke again. But that's okay. Hey, do I have the right kind of backup? I do. Alright. Alright, let me show you one more thing. Answer a few more questions, and we can get out of here. We've made some good progress. We started here, which is kind of like not in a great place. I mean, it's fine, but it's not good enough, so we need to improve it. Then we went here and learned some things, and learned, most importantly, that this sort of tofu sheep wasn't going to work. Like a block of tofu, get it? So he's dead. And then we came here, where we basically started here, ported the nice ears and nose, snout, whatever, and then removed a lot of detail, which helps. And now we've got to think of some kind of pattern that conveys his fluffiness, but this one is a little too stripy, and we'll continue working on that. Okay, so not bad, not bad. Let's see, what was I going to show you? Oh, yeah, let's bring up Dakota. So this is our debugger, and I've been working on the trapper. You guys, I showed them before at Reddit when we modeled them. This is like a little test world that I use to test the trapper. Jess is a trapper, so that's what girl trappers look like. Oh, here's another girl trapper. We got two girls this time, right? Scarlet's a trapper too. So, one thing that we're gonna mess with, and this is experimental for us, we're gonna see how it goes, is for some units giving you more direct control. Like there are a lot of issues, such as how do you scout the map, and what do you do if you've queued up a bunch of orders and it's gonna take you like 10 minutes in game to complete them. We don't want you to hit the fast forward button and sit there. So we want to give you a few units that you can control directly, and the trapper will be the first one. So the role of the trapper will be to scout the landscape, to hunt out critters like said rabbit right here, right, and then to harvest the rabbits for food and resources, right? No, not the bunnies, says Nagatopian 17. Yes, the bunnies, right? So this is much more like traditional RTS control, and we definitely do not want to turn the game into an RTS. So like the workers will pretty much stay independent and self-directed, following your sort of grand orders like go chop down those trees or go build this house. And our idea is that you can use the trapper, like I said, as a scout where you need to be more directed. Like I want to scout like that little rock over there, so go explore it. And this sort of trapping flow will be like a mini game that you can play. So the idea is that you're gonna have your trapper and you're gonna scout around, and then you'll see, look, there are rabbits, and you want the rabbits because the rabbits have meat and pelts, and so you'll get to play this game where you hunt the rabbits, and it will not be twitchy, it will not require dexterity, it will be incredibly simple, but it gives you something to do. So like hunt for rabbits and trap them and bring them back home, and all of these kinds of interactions where you like go off and do these little hunts or whatever are going to be completely optional. If you don't want them, then don't make a trapper. You'll be able to get everything that the trapper can get by some other means. It's So it's just a way of us giving you something else to do. And I hit an error, but hey, we can just restart. And like I said, this is experimental for us. We're not sure if this is the direction we want to... Oh look, now you got two guy trappers, so you can see what he looks like. I like that he has this sort of knife on his back. It's not functional, but whatever. We just want to play around with this idea and see where it goes. So we're not turning it into an RTS by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it'll be fun to give you, like, you know, little things to do that are more directed and not so planny. We want to have both, but most of the game will be planning. I'll give you guys like a minute to catch up, because I know the stream is about a minute behind. And if you have any questions about that, I'll answer those, and then I will get out of here. I like the girl trapper better, so let's see if we can get one. Yeah. Oh no, there we go. Abby. Hi, Abby. Abby, face the camera. Right, so worker, no, and I'm right-clicking on the ground to move them around, right? We also have this move thingy, right? But, you know, I right-click. Okay, any trapper questions? Will the trapper's workstation be a skinning rack? Right, that's a good question. So, the trapper will not have a workshop. The trapper will do her work in the field, right? So one thing that we are very concerned about is making sure that it's clear what you do with each unit. Like, workers are completely undirected. Craftsmen are more or less undirected, but you go to their workshop to issue their orders. And if the trapper had a workshop and you had to like click around to move him, it would just be weird and confusing. So we'll do other things to make it clear, like which units you can control and which you can't. Like, we'll probably change the way selection works. We may change things in the unit frame. Like when I select her, maybe like there'll be like something on the ground, some kind of like, you know, like a lot of games put like a green circle on the ground. We put like a green square on the ground to indicate that you can move them. But yeah, anyone that has a workshop will behave like the carpenter, for sure. So like the weaver, the mason, the blacksmith, all these guys, it's like you give them their orders and they go out and do them in an intelligent way. And then there'll be these extra little units like, you know, trapper, hunter, whatever else we come up with that are like sort of more action-y, but not dexterity-based and not twitch-based minigames. Will trappers be able to auto-scout? We're gonna start with no. I mean, what does auto-scout mean? I mean, I think I know what you mean. Like, you hit a button on their bar that says scout, and then they like go to the edge of like your town and then like sort of wander around and explore unexplored areas. We're gonna go with no initially and see how that feels. And if it's broken, then we'll fix it. Repeat pan. Shh, keep that to yourself. Tents made of pelt. Cheap temporary houses. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, that's enough of that. I know what that error is, but here. Can the camera move? No. Alright, we'll try it one more time. Nah, let's try it one more time. So that error is like, this is just a tiny test world, and they have like this sort of ambient behavior where they just sort of wander around when they get bored. And in that, like, they can wander off the edge of the test world, and we don't do a boundary test, and we don't really care because it's just a test world. So that's what that error is. So we'll just like put them in the middle of the map. Hope they don't wander off. Look, trappers and rabbits living together in peace. That won't happen in game. In game, the rabbits will run away from the trapper. Would moving multiple trappers be repetitive? Yes. I think you mean redundant, and it would be. Like in the real game, the only reason you'd have more than one trapper is if you wanted to harvest harvest critters at a faster rate, right? So like if you really wanted rabbit parts or squirrel parts or deer parts or whatever, the trapper can harvest, and one trapper wasn't doing it fast enough, you get another trapper so you could like do it twice the rate. Also remember that the trapper can upgrade to the hunter or the shepherd. So eventually, you know, this may be your first trapper, Marianne, and then she's destined to become the shepherd, but you really want another trapper, so you may know that and then just say, okay, I'm going to make Ellogeyen a trapper now so that like when I'm ready to upgrade Marianne, I already have another one, right? You know, the same reason why would you want 2 carpenters? Well, because you want to make wood stuff twice as fast. That's the only reason. Would the trapper be able to survive on its own for long journeys into the wilderness? That's an interesting idea. I mean, one thing that the trapper does, and it's something that we've talked about. One thing that the trapper does is harvest. I love using that word. Harvest these poor rabbits like for food and raw materials. So it makes sense that like when the trapper gets hungry, she doesn't have to go all the way back to town and eat food because she kind of has the ability to make it on her own. So I mean that makes sense, and we're gonna play around with that idea. Can you craft a potion, give it to a bunny, and then the bunny will turn into a bunny person? That's hilarious. Good idea. No, but good idea. So potions, I mean, we talked about potions at length, and potions are something that we want in things like potions, which is like a consumable that you consume at a very specific time to get a specific benefit because you need that benefit right now, is something that we do not want to put in the game, because it's sort of the essence of micromanagement, right? Where if you say we had a potion of speed, and when you drink the potion of speed, whatever you do it twice as fast, right? Or 3 times as fast, just to make it really obvious. Like, you don't want to waste that. You don't want to give that to a worker who's chopping a tree because it's just a waste. You know, you probably don't need the wood that desperately. So you're going to want to hoard that, and you're going to want to give it to a particular person at a very specific time to do something, right? Which changes the game from like sort of a planner orchestrator type thing where you're giving these grand orders and sort of building an engine. Alright, that's that. And seeing like how your plans work and then optimizing, which is kind of the loop we want. We want you to like plan, observe, and then, you know, optimize. Plan, observe, optimize, and get bigger and bigger that way. It changes the game from that into like maintaining like inventories of like all your buffs and managing exactly who gets which buff when, and if you don't do that, then you're not playing the game optimally. This is called min-maxing in RPGs, and that is actually fun and a big part of games like MMOs and games like Diablo. Like, that is a large part of the game, which is awesome, but it's not. We don't want it to be part of our game, which is focused more on simulation. So yeah, that was a very. I guess that was a brief summary of our long discussion on potions, and like, because we were thinking, oh, we have the alchemist. Well, the alchemist makes potions, right? And then we're like, oh, wait, if we put potions in the game, then this, and this follow. And the end of the discussion was, okay, there are no potions in this game, and no consumables like that. Where we'll have consumables, there might be like, you know, like, I don't know, like a great feast. And if you craft a great feast, then it's big enough to feed your entire town. And it provides a bonus that lasts, that applies to everybody and lasts for a long time, like maybe like a day or a week of in-game time. So you can have benefits like that, but you don't have to micro, like, this benefit's going to go exactly to this guy at this time because it's perfect, like, right now. Yeah. So that's the deal there. Okay, 2 more questions and I gotta go. Will it be possible to have several cities apart from each other? Yes, it absolutely will be possible to do that. We're planning for that now. We're making sure that everything we write has that in mind. But you won't be able to do it in game until we have like one city building working well, right? Like, there's a whole lot of stuff we have to do with construction and crafting and all that stuff. So you will be able to do it in the final game, not yet. And not anytime soon. Yeah, Seasonal Feast, Extreme Taco. Extreme Taco, nice handle. Um, that's that's sort of what we're getting at, right? Oh, it's my phone. Okay, so I do have to go. So I will tune in maybe like in a week, less than 2 weeks. Um, Thanks everyone for watching, and you can follow us on stonehearth.net and check out Build 32. It should be on Humble soon, and it's already on all the Steam releases. Nice talking to you. Until next time.